Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the bitterly cold weather that is arriving later this coming working week. It's looking likely from around Wednesday in the north and Thursday in the south. We're going to be seeing an extremely cold Arctic air mass take over from the north, and it looks quite likely now, starting in Wednesday in the north and Thursday in the south, many areas will hardly get above freezing until perhaps Monday, Tuesday time. So sort of 4, 5, 6 days worth of extremely cold weather, and there is the potential, of course, of snowfall within that as well. It looks, at least initially, through that Wednesday, Thursday time, when we do have the high resolution models now getting to that time frame, it looks snow initially towards coastal areas in the north especially, and through most of Scotland. Elsewhere, further inland and further southwards, we're going to have to rely more on small features, potentially weather fronts bumping up from the southwest, and that's something that could become a feature through Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday time. So unfortunately at the moment we're not going to be having a look at the snow charts too much. We'll have a look at the UKV of course, but we won't be having a look at any other specific snow charts because we're just out of the time frame really of when significant risk comes in for more widespread areas. So we'll wait to probably cover that in tomorrow or Tuesday's video, but today we'll go through what's happening at the moment, the live radar. We'll have a look at the weather warnings as we still have a snow warning issued for Wednesday in the north, and I'm expecting more warnings to be issued beyond that, especially for ice and things like that. That's going to be a widespread risk with the very cold temperatures. And we'll have a look at the UKV, look at those temperatures and the precipitation, and of course have a look at the longer range, the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, because as I said, it looks pretty locked in. We're going to be seeing extremely cold weather until at least Monday, Tuesday next week, and the breakdown of that cold weather has not been deciphered. The GFS today brings low pressure up from the southwest, quite slowly, potentially bringing some big snow events, so you could be seeing multiple inches of snow in some areas with that sort of pattern, but eventually turns us milder. The GEM tries that, but keeps us cold and blocked. The ECMWF also tries that, but does go more westerly in the longer range, and the ensembles are split around day 8, day 9 at the moment, with some going milder, or at least towards average, some keeping us extremely cold. So we'll just have to see what the models are showing today. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in description. Now if we do start on the live radar, you can see we've got plenty of showers around at the moment, most of these falling as cold rain, as the surface conditions aren't quite cold enough for winteriness at the moment, even though the upper air temperatures are around -5, -6 degrees at 850 HPA, which you traditionally think is cold enough for snow. This air originated from further southwards and eastwards in Europe, so it's got some milder layers within it. The dew points are quite low enough, so we're seeing a bit of winteriness over the higher ground in Scotland and northern England, but most areas it's really cold. Really significant wind chill out there. Temperatures feeling hardly above freezing in the wind, and again with the rain making it feel colder as well. But this will slowly slide away over the next few days, and we'll sort of go into a little bit of a lull before those northerly winds plunge in for the north on Wednesday and for everywhere through Thursday. Now, as I'm recording this around 2 p.m, if we do put the temperatures on, you can see it is cold out there at the moment. Widespread blues and even some lighter blues mixing in there, which is temperatures towards the low single digits, if not towards freezing. And I'm expecting, as we head into later next week, for all of us to be in those lighter blues in the day, and overnight, potentially even see some pinks and purples, which is getting down to sort of -10 degrees plus overnight. It could be extremely cold in sheltered areas. So yeah, think you feel cold today, it's only going to go on a downwards trend over the course of the next 3 or 4 days, with the max temperatures through Monday and Tuesday, maybe 6 or 7 degrees. For towards the end of the week, it's going to be about 1 or 2 in some coastal areas in the south. Now, if you go over to the weather warnings, you can see we have one snow warning. We had a look at this in detail yesterday, but again, from Wednesday, or for the whole 24 hours of Wednesday, snow showers may bring some travel disruption, and again, 2 to 5 centimetres possible at low levels, 5 to 10 centimetres above 200 metres. So it's widespread winteriness. Any precipitation falling at the sky over land will be snow come Wednesday in the north and Thursday in the south. So it'll be extremely cold, with some drifting and blizzard conditions potentially, with a strong strong northerly wind. So we'll just have to see how that does play out, and I do suspect we'll see more warnings issued, especially for Scotland later next week, and perhaps more widespread for ice and maybe for snow as well, as we start to see the short range models start to increase their resolution on the winteriness that could be happening later next week into the weekend. Now, if we do go over to the UKV and have a look at those precipitation and temperature charts over the course of the next 5 days, you can see that we've got a few showers around today, a bit of winteriness over the higher ground, and those showers will slowly peter out over the course of this evening. Still there, but turning a little bit lighter, and as we head into tomorrow, still showers around, quite a lot of thick cloud, feeling cold. Those showers still coming quite far inland, but being quite light, but where we do see a bit of a train in those showers, it could be quite miserable and wet out there. And that's just unfortunate. As I said, if those temperatures were a couple of degrees colder out there, we would be seeing this mostly fall to snow, but it's still just slightly too mild for any winteriness to lower levels. As we head through Monday evening, you can start to see that wind direction veering more northerly, and eventually a northerly wind starts to arrive. We start to see a few wintry showers, but that real cold air hasn't arrived yet, so could still be rain to lower levels. It does turn drier through Tuesday more widely, and those showers start to pack in to the North Sea coasts and Scotland, some of them falling snow inland, especially over higher ground. But through Tuesday night into Wednesday, look at that, more widespread snow showers anywhere inland over Scotland through Wednesday in the day, and it will be below freezing most of Wednesday in the north of the British Isles, further southwards maybe 3 or 4. And then as we head through Wednesday night, look at all those heavy snow showers packing in to coastal areas, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, northern and eastern England, and Scotland, seeing significant snow showers. Now remember, we are 3 or 4 days out, so these things will still change. There could be small features embedded in this, there could be convergence zones that we'll only sort of be able to see a day or two out. So always do take these charts with a bit of a pinch of salt, especially with snowfall, where it's very much convection based. As we head through Thursday afternoon, again, you can see a bit of a Pembrokeshire dangler there through southern parts of Wales and southwest England. That could start to fall as snow, again, depending on how much cold air mixes in with that. Definitely does look like it's going to be slightly milder in the west. When I mean slightly milder, maybe more towards 2 or 3 degrees rather than sub-0. Those snow showers still are packing in, and we do start to see a little bit of a feature spiralling in from the west there that could give more widespread snow. And this is why I say we've got to wait another day or two for these short range models to get towards that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time, when we start seeing more of these features spiralling in around the lower pressure, as it becomes, as a lot of this is convection based, as I said. Now, if we do put on the upper air temperatures, you can see it is cold at the moment, around -5 degrees at 850 HPA, but nothing truly bitterly cold yet. As we head through Sunday into Monday, you can see slightly milder air mixes in the south, but again, nothing too significant at all, and we stay fairly cold. Mostly clearer skies, it will drop down to freezing, or you see cloud, maybe 2 or 3 degrees. Through Monday afternoon, look at that, still cold, -5, -6 degrees at 850 HPA, but it's as we head through Tuesday, you can start to see a wind veering from the north, -7, maybe -8 degrees starts to plunge in, and eventually we could get the -10 isotherm in for parts of northern Scotland. And eventually we go bitterly cold through Thursday. Look at that, widely -8, -9 degrees at 850 HPA. So the far south and southwest just hanging on to slightly less cold air, but eventually we all get flooded into that bitterly cold air by Friday, and expecting most areas to wake up on Friday morning with temperatures in around the -5 degree point. It's going to be extremely cold out there. Even in towns and cities, it's going to be frigid. And the big thing with this is any winteriness that falls out of the sky will settle immediately on these sort of surfaces. So even if we don't see significant snowfall rates, if we just see a few showers come along, it can give a dusting and can cause some problems. Now, if we do put on the max temperatures, you'll be able to see how it really does cool down later this week. And you can see the temperatures at the moment, this afternoon, around maybe 4 or 5 degrees, max more likely freezing over higher ground. As we head through this evening, maybe 2 to 4 degrees overnight, and as we head into Monday afternoon, look at those temperatures recovering perhaps to 6 or 7, freezing in the north. Through Monday night, still freezing in the north. Overnight temperatures in the south not dropping much below 4 or 5 degrees as we have a lot of cloud around, which is holding those temperatures up. And then as we head through Tuesday morning, you can see still quite cold, and then by Tuesday afternoon, 5 or 6 degrees in the south, more like freezing in Scotland. But it's as we head into Wednesday, so you big transition. Overnight, Wednesday, in western areas, freezing cold down towards -1, -2 widely, locally -4 or 5. Bit milder further eastwards, 2 or 3 degrees, where we do still hang on to cloud. Wednesday in the day, you'll see big change. Widely in the north, look at those temperatures, below freezing, widely. South, 2 to 4 degrees, still feeling extremely cold. The only reason why it's not as cold in the south as it is in the north is just because the cold air mass hasn't fully reached there yet. And as we head through Wednesday night, look at that, as we wake up at 6 a.m, widely -2 to -4 degrees, locally maybe -6, -7. You couldn't even rule out -10 or below that. And as we head into the day on Thursday, most areas in the north and the east, even into the southeast as well, where we've got that bitterly cold air mass pushing in, widely 1 degree, if not lower. The further west you go, slightly milder, maybe 3 or 4 degrees. Still would be seeing winteriness falling out of the sky, but just not quite as cold at the surface. And that again is simply because the coldest air hasn't quite reached there yet. But as I said, as we wake up on Friday morning, look at that, 3 a.m, widely -5, -6 degrees. And you can see across parts of Scotland, locally -10, maybe even -15. Extremely cold. And you even look at London, where we've got urban heat, and you can see -3. That's ridiculously cold. And again, this is only 2 days into the colder spell. Just wait another couple of days, and these temperatures will continue to fall and consistently stay around that freezing point in the day. It's going to be extremely cold later next week. Regardless of what happens with the snow, the cold is going to be quite severe indeed. Now, if we do go over to the GFS and see what that is showing over the course of the next couple of weeks. Now, the cold weather is locked in, as I said, for the end of next week, but it's how it breaks down and what happens in the longer term is what we've still got to decipher. And of course, how low pressure interacts with the colder air could provide some significant moisture, which could create some big snow at times. Now you can see the northerly wind coming next week, bitterly cold air plunging in, and it's by Friday, Saturday time. You see those little lows spiraling around. Those will cause instability, bring moisture in off the Atlantic, and we will see potentially areas of snow with this. And you can continue to see those little lows moving in, and that's where we could see some winteriness. Perhaps by Monday, Tuesday time, look, the isobars stretch out. That's where we could see our coldest conditions. The air mass is still extremely cold, -5 lines fully through, temperature deviation well below average, and the potential equivalent temperature still bitterly cold. And because we've got slack winds, probably showers starting to cut off, probably little snow falling out of the sky, clear skies, those temperatures will plummet. But what we've got to watch is what happens early that coming week. Low pressure bumping into that cold air, sort of getting pushed away by that cold block. And you can see the -5 line hangs on in northern England, and this would provide significant snow through the Midlands and northern England, for eventually milder air does win out before eventually moving out into the near continent, and right at 384 hours we go back into a northerly wind. So what we're looking at from around day 8 onwards is a battleground situation between the block to our north and cold air trying to hang on, and lower pressure running up from the southwest trying to push the westerlies back in. And if we see that dividing line between cold air and the milder westerlies and the moisture sit over the top of the British Isles, wherever that dividing line will be, there will be significant snow, and that is something we have to keep an eye on in the longer term. It's nothing that's going to come up in the next week, but it's something that could cause issues as we head towards the middle of the month, around that 12th to 20th of December point. Could be turning very, very wintry there, and could remain very cold as well. Now, if we do go over to the GM, this one, as I said, this run today, as I said, does remain very cold all the way to day 10. Again, might not be as snowy because we hang on to the colder air masses, don't see as much moisture push in, but it still would be very cold, and anything falling out of the sky would be snow. So you can see north to northeasterly winds pushing in, extremely cold. And you see by Friday, Saturday time, that's when we've got the low sat over the top of us, the most instability and most likely the most amount of snow showers. So as I said, the UKV wasn't showing that much inland, but it only went out to late on Thursday night into early hours of Friday, so only covering about a day of when the full cold blast over the top of us. That cold air is going to last all the way until about Monday time at least. Now you can see through Sunday, you see a little channel low potentially brewing there. Again, it actually goes through sort of central France, but if that bumped slightly further northwards, you can see the dividing line there. That could produce snow across southern England. We'll have to see. And at day 10, we stay extremely cold. So as I said, the moisture is staying much further to our south, so less snow with this, but would keep us extremely cold, very frigid, and you can see high pressure blocking towards Iceland and Greenland, northeasterly winds, and regardless of if that moisture comes up from the south, we would still be pulling in some very cold air from the east and the north, producing a lot of convection in off the North Sea, so lake effect snow with that. If you have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare. Again, easterly winds at the moment, northerly winds plunging in next week, bitterly cold, low pressure sat over the top of us, giving us a lot of winteriness, and then eventually we see some slack isobars by Monday time. That could produce quite very cold weather, and eventually low pressure runs into that, and where that dividing line is across northern England, you can see that's where we'd see heavy snow. Day 10 though, look at this huge push of extremely warm air from the southwest, and that could turn us extremely mild for the middle of the month and very stormy as well, because that clash between bitterly cold air and very mild air would spin up this low significantly. But we still have the blocking signal, but just at this stage from the GFS and the ECMWF, it's producing a pattern which keeps this low just to our southwest, trying to push in unsettled conditions. Remember, these sort of blocking patterns don't come along all too often, so the models are quite bad at forecasting them in the longer range, as we've seen over the last few days with a lot of wobbling with the models. They've all come out cold in the end, but a day or two ago, some of these operational runs were pushing in these southwesterly winds as soon as Friday time. Now it's completely gone away, and it's now potentially pushing in by Tuesday. So these things can change extremely rapidly, and of course, if we see something like the GEM, with those lows staying just to our south, then it could produce a lot of snow, or just keep us simply very cold. Now, if we have a look at the ensembles, you see how there is a bit of a split. These are the latest GFS ensembles for London. Below average at the moment, but not bitterly cold. Turning bitterly cold by Thursday time, and we stay extremely cold all the way until around the 12th or 13th. So in 8-9 days time, next Monday, Tuesday time, at least, we're going to be hanging on to that very cold air. Then we see ensemble members rise. Some of them doing it at different times. Some are doing it on the 12th, some are doing it on the 13th, 14th, some even as late as the 15th. But maybe half bring us back towards average, if not above average, and that will be the low pressure running up from the southwest. But you can also see maybe half are hanging on to that cold air as late as maybe the 15th or 16th. And you can see increased precipitation there, and that could fall as snow depending on where the rain snow line is. So in the longer term, there definitely is a signal to return us more towards average, if not slightly above average, temporarily with milder sectors within lower pressure systems. But we still have some keeping that cold, blocked air over the top of us. It could be one of those patterns where we temporarily go mild and westerly for a few days in the middle of the month before the blocking returns. Because that's one thing we did see from the operational runs. Yes, the GFS and the ECMWF brought in southwesterly winds, but they all kept the block to our north and our west, just shifting the orientation so it doesn't favour cold weather. So we'll have to see what happens. But all I'll say is the next week to 9 days looks extremely cold. If we do put on those 2 metre dew points, which again indicates the air mass, you can see widely below freezing to about the 14th of December. A good week there of below freezing dew points, which means for about a week, precipitation falling out of the sky in London most likely would be falling as a wintry precipitation. The 2 metre temperatures, look at that, from that perhaps the Wednesday, 3 or 4 degrees, but definitely the Thursday down towards 1 or 2, all the way probably until the Monday or Tuesday, so a good 4 to 6 days depending on the different ensemble members. Is going to be around low single digits, if not towards freezing, and well below freezing overnight. And if we have a look at the new snow depth spikes, there are quite a few snow depth spikes, again, from around the 10th to 12th, as I said. around that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time is the most likely chance we have from convection as those lows start to sit over the top of us. And again, that's something we'll decipher over the course of the next few days. And if we do finish by just having a look at the ensembles from the ECMWF, again, very similar, very cold until about the 12th of December, and then we see a split, half, including the operational run, go well above average temporarily, but then you also see about half keep us very cold around the -5 line, and that's probably what the GEM solution came out with, where it just holds on to that very cold air. So as I said, we'll have to see exactly what happens with this and how it does play out, but for the time being, very cold all the way to early next Monday or Tuesday, and then we could see low pressure run in, could give significant snow, or could just give us very mild conditions for a couple of days, or then we could also just see the cold air hang on and keep us very cold indeed. But of course, that is something we need to look at nearer the time. So for the time being, very cold weather coming up. Make sure you stay safe out there. At the moment, I suspect the biggest risk will be those cold temperatures, frost and ice around. But of course, as we get into the shorter time frame for more widespread areas, we could start to see significant snow risks come in as well. Definitely looks likely in Scotland, perhaps Northern Ireland, North Sea coasts, but could become more inland as we start to decipher small little features and low pressure systems as well near the time. So just keep an eye out for that. Of course, I'll keep you updated, and we'll probably have a look at all those precipitation charts over the course of the next day or two as we get nearer to the event. But as I said, turning very cold. Make sure you stay safe out there. Keep an eye on the videos as we'll be updating you, and of course, look at the latest Met Office weather warnings as they are keeping very close eye on this, because this could be some of the most disruptive wintry weather we've had in December for a number of years. And it's not just, as I said earlier this week, it's not just a day or two of cold weather and a bit of snow. It's prolonged, as I said, 5 to 7 days of very cold conditions, not only in the north, but quite widely as well in the south. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay safe out there over the course of the next week or two, and I'll see you again for another video tomorrow.